quick qualifying. Gonna be over before I know it. Oops, hit a cone. Oh, I aced the final sector by a tenth. 46.4 for the qualifying lap. Optimal is in a 46.0. It's not bad at all. Second again, for the want of a tenth.
Green, green, green.
Okay. First lap done. Keeping cold tyres in mind, and I'm still going. So, hello everybody and welcome to another iRacing video, and we're back on a track where I really didn't have a good experience last time we were here, and this is kind of a chance at redemption. So obviously in the second half of this Mazda season we've been going back to some of the tracks that we did in the first half of the season and doing sort of shorter variations of them. And this one, with it being such a short lap, you know, 40 odd seconds per lap, it was very important to do well in qualifying, so I'm glad I managed to do that. But yeah, the last time we were on this track, it was the full version, and I did two races, and I had two very bad races where I spun off in both of them. One of them I did do a little bit of a comeback and got a decent result from it in the end, but the second one, it was really bad, and the fact that it was all my own mistakes and, you know, those sort of little errors that have crept in over the course of the last few weeks, that was kind of the start of it, really. And yeah, both races I kind of spun out myself. So coming back to this track, it was on the second half of the circuit, which I didn't like as much as the first half of the circuit when we were doing the full track, but it was at least a chance at redemption on a track that I'd had issues with earlier on in the season. And like I said, I qualified relatively well. It was a super short lap, so very easy to lose time, as well as, you know, and very difficult to gain it. And that good qualifying kept me out of the pack at the very start. And considering it's so short and how difficult it is to find a place to overtake, I think that really helped me, because the gaps very quickly opened up in the pack. So I was kind of just away from the pack at that point very early on. And I was able to navigate the first few laps relatively trouble-free as well. It took me a while to settle down into the race, but the most important thing I think I was keeping in mind is that I really wanted to not, you know, spin out at the start, as I have been doing in the last few races. and specifically on the last corner of this track is where I sort of gave up a really good position the last time we were on this circuit. So I managed to, you know, not do that, which was great. But I did make a small mistake later on in the race, after I think it was lap 3 or lap 4, which meant that I gave up the second place that I was holding from the start. But it was just a small error that, you know, I just ran wide a little bit, misjudged my braking. Yes, I gave up second place, but I didn't then manage to filter back into third, and for the rest of the race I stayed pretty comfortable in third. Like I said, it took me a little bit of time to settle down, so I lost a bit of time in the first few laps, but then midway through the race I was kind of matching and at times catching the leaders, but I was already sort of too far back by then. But coming home in sort of a solid third place, I got some good championship points from this, which was sort of the most important coming to the end of the season. I was kind of really happy with that, and you know, I'd redeemed myself from the last time we were on this track, and I decided to sort of just leave it at this one race. That's why this is a short video. In terms of the way that the championship's going as we're coming to the end of the season, I am still just outside the top 100 in terms of placement, and to be honest, I don't think I'll make it inside unless something crazy happens in the final week. I'm currently sitting on a score of 669 for my best 8 rounds. Just to put it into perspective, the very top guys have scores of over 1,000, but then I am just outside the top 100 of sort of 30,000 other people. When we come to the final race next week, I'll sort of show my position on the leaderboard and everything wherever I end up. But yeah, my score is 669 for my best 8 rounds, with my lowest scoring round of those 8 being the 72 rounds that I got in round 3, 72 points that I got in round 3. And the way that it works, basically with the whole dropped scores and best results, the way that all that works out is that if I get 72 points or less in the final round of the season, my total score is going to remain exactly the same at 669, because that 72 points from round 3 will remain one of my best 8 rounds. Any points that I get more than 72 will increase my total score. So for example, if I want to get 700 points, that means I need 31 more points, which means I need 31 more points than the 72 that are already counting, so that I would need 105 points in the final round to get 700 total. And since my best score came last week at 103 points, the chances of me getting 105 are pretty slim. But I have had a few 80 point scores, even a 90 point score at one point as well. So, you know, even if I improve a little bit, you know, get an extra 10, 20 points or something for the final race, that'll make me finish a few higher positions up, and it's all good. So next week will be the final round of this first full season, and it'll be at Laguna Seca as well, a track that I'm kind of looking forward to going back to. I've never raced on iRacing, but it's a track that I've raced on from, you know, back in the day with Gran Turismo games and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that and just seeing how I can do and ending the season with a bit of a bang, or hopefully a metaphorical bang, not a literal one. So yeah, I hope you guys are all still enjoying the series, and I really appreciate you all sticking with me and following my journey in iRacing. I am planning to move on from Mazdas for next season, but I am glad I did this season. It has given me a great sort of base to work from, and I've learned a lot, and we've had some great races as well. I've achieved some goals like we saw last week. And yeah, it's been the perfect stepping stone. I know a lot of people say, and I said it at the start as well of this season, that just get out of rookies and move on to something else. But I've really thought that this first season, doing a full season in these Mazdas, has actually been helpful. So I'm glad I did it in the end. And yeah, we got one more round to go, and that'll be next week at Laguna Seca. Anyway, I'll let the rest of this week's action play out as it happened, and I'll see you all next week for the final round. I think this is a race where it's all been about the qualifying that's given me the position. Just staying out of trouble and fairly uneventful, but it's a big gap behind and a decent gap in front as well. Too shaky on the first couple of laps. but better than trying to be too over aggressive on the first couple of laps, like the last time we were on the big version of this track. And send it into the barriers on the first corner, on the first lap. I'll take a third. That's not too bad. Looking for just better championship points at the minute, and that is better championship points, so I'll take it. Thanks for the GGs. Fairly uneventful race in the end, I suppose, but I'll take a fairly uneventful race. Yeah, it took me too long to get to this point. I needed to be doing this, like, up here. Very steady on my first couple of laps. And it was fairly consistent, all those 46s. That one mistake on turn 1 cost you second place. Not necessarily. It might have saved me from finishing at the back of the pack. Because it was Pavo behind me who took me out in an earlier season race, just rammed me from behind. He might have done the same thing here. You never know. I was kind of in no man's land at the end, but a lonely third place is, I'll take that. That's fine with me. A decent chunk on the iRating. I mean, I can't even do these lap times. My best is a 46.4. I mean, I've got a 46.1 on the Optimal, but yeah, those are better lap times than I can do at the minute on this track. But 82 championship points, that means that this round is going to count, regardless of what happens.